God, we should walk away from this.
Hold on. If I were to do this, if I even could do it, I'd need a guarantee. How do I know you can deliver?
You don't. But I can. So, do you want to take a leap of faith?
The movie kicks off with Cobb waking up washed ashore. Armed guards pick him up and drag him into a heavily fortified fortress. There, he meets a fragile old man.
Are you here to kill me?
This is a puzzle piece scene, and its real meaning won't click until the very end of the movie. See, Dom Cobb is an extractor, a guy who can slip into a sleeping person's dream and hijack their data. And he's made a killer living selling this info to corporate clients. Passwords, hidden locations, corporate secrets, emotional weaknesses. You name it. If you're asleep, it's up for grabs. This time, Cobb and his partner Arthur have broken into the mind of a massive energy corporate boss named Saito to crack his safe. But in reality, they're all just chilling on a bullet train, while another teammate watches over their sleeping bodies. But just as Cobb finally cracks the safe in the dream, it turns out the whole gig was a setup. Saito rigged the entire thing just to test Cobb's skills because he wants to hire him for a massive inside job.
What do you want from us?
Inception. Is it possible?
Inception means planting an idea instead of stealing one, but you have to do it so smoothly that the target genuinely believes it was their own brainchild. It's an almost impossible task, so Cobb turns it down. But then, Saito drops an offer Cobb literally can't refuse.
How would you like to go home? To America? To your children?
If Cobb can successfully pull off Inception on Saito's chief rival, Robert Fisher, Saito will use his massive leverage to wipe Cobb's criminal record clean. Then, he can legally cross the US border and finally see his kids' faces. Faces that, over the years, have faded into an elusive, almost mythical memory. Cobb takes the bait. To pull off a heist this crazy, Cobb needs the ultimate crew, so he starts assembling his team. First up is a guy we already know, Arthur. He's the point man, responsible for prepping the operation, iron out the details, and making sure everything goes according to plan. Next up is Eames. He's the team's identity thief, a master of disguise inside the dream world. He can mimic anyone's looks, voice, and behavior down to a T. Then there's Yusuf, a chemist who whips up a super potent sedative. This juice is strong enough to plunge the team into a deep sleep across multiple dream layers. Think of it like this. You fall asleep on a plane. That's dream level 1. Then, inside that dream, you go to a hotel and hit the sack. That's level 2. And whatever you dream up in that hotel room, boom, you're in level 3. But the most crucial piece of the puzzle is Ariadne. She's a brilliant young architecture student Cobb recruits to design the dream mazes. Inside the subconscious, she can build entire cities, streets, and parks out of thin air, limited only by her imagination. Her job for this heist is to build every single dream level with absolute pinpoint precision. The first thing Arthur teaches Ariadne is how to craft a totem. Think of it as a reality check anchor. It's a tiny, everyday object, and you are the only person alive who knows its exact weight, texture, and balance.
I can't let you touch it. That would defeat the purpose. See, only I know the balance and the weight of this particular loaded die. That way, when you look at your totem, you know beyond a doubt that you're not in someone else's dream.
For instance, when Cobb spins his iconic top, it'll eventually topple over if he's in the real world. But if it keeps spinning forever, he's still dreaming. Oh, and one more rule of the dream world. If you realize you're trapped in someone else's mind, you can just kill yourself in the dream to wake up in reality. Either that, or your handler back in the real world gives you a kick, like a physical jolt, to snap you out of it. So, back to the game plan. Saito wants Cobb's crew to plant a seed in Robert Fisher's mind, a thought that will make him dissolve his father's massive energy empire after the old man passes away. See, the father's health is tanking, and his days are numbered. This means the whole corporate empire is about to drop right into Robert's lap. Saito insists on tags along for the ride, meaning he's dropping into all 3 dream levels too.
The only way to know you've done the job busy if I want you with you.
Cobb's master plan kicks off in the tight, high-end space of a first-class transatlantic flight. Robert Fisher is flying his father's body from Sydney to LA, and Cobb's crew is booking tickets on the exact same flight. A 10-hour flight, that is all the time they've got.
But you'd have to buy out the entire cabin and the first-class flight attendant.
I bought the airline. It seemed neater.
Saito casually flexing his wealth aside, the crew doesn't waste a single second once they're on board.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Cobb slips a heavy sedative into Fisher's drink, and boom, our heroes plunge into the first layer of their shared dream. From this point on, they're playing by Dreamtime rules. What feels like weeks in the dream is just a couple of minutes in the real world. Level 1. A dark, rainy city. Now, the plan is to kidnap Fisher and get to work. But right out of the gate, they hit a massive speed bump. Fisher, being the heir to a multi-billion-dollar empire, underwent intense tactical psychological training. His subconscious is literally hardwired to resist mind heists. It spawns heavily armed, military-grade mercenaries to take out the intruders. To make matters worse, Saito takes a bullet and gets critically wounded, totally changing the game. Eames wants to put Saito out of his misery to wake him up, but Cobb steps in.
Don't do that!
He's in agony. I'm waking him up.
It won't wake him up.
What do you mean it won't wake him up?
It won't wake him
When we
up.
die in a dream, we wake up.
Not from this. We're too heavily sedated to wake up that way.
Turns out, because of Yusuf's hardcore sedative, dying in the dream won't snap you back to reality. Instead, it drops your consciousness into limbo, an endless abyss of unconstructed subconscious space where you can get trapped for decades, leaving your real-world body as a total vegetable. But there's no time to panic. They have to stick to the script. The goal is to make Fisher believe this is a real-life, high-stakes kidnapping by professionals who want the combination to the safe in his father's office.
I don't know any safe.
That doesn't mean you don't know the combination.
To speed things up, Eames works his magic and shapeshifts into Fisher's beloved godfather, Uncle Peter.
Maurice told me that when he passed, you were the only one to be able to open it.
No, he never gave me any combination.
Fake Uncle Peter tells Fisher that there's a secret alternative will locked in that safe. He claims it allows Robert to break up his father's corporate empire into smaller companies if he wants to. Robert is totally baffled.
It'd be the end of the entire empire as we know it.
Destroying my whole inheritance. Why would he suggest such a thing?
But since the crew successfully planted that first seed of doubt in Fisher's mind, it's time to double down and drop into the next dream level. To shake off the armed guards and get closer to Fisher, the crew drops one layer deeper, leaving Yusuf behind in the rainy city to babysit their sleeping bodies inside a van. Level 2. The Hotel. Here, Cobb flips the script and uses a totally different tactic. He actually convinces Fisher that he's inside a dream and offers to protect him from the intruders.
Mr. Fisher, I'm here to protect you in the event that someone tries to access your mind through your dreams. You're not safe here. They're coming for you.
To prove to Fisher that they're really in a dream world, Cobb shows him some dream physics magic that would be physically impossible in real life. It's a next-level psychological mind game, and it works. Fisher buys it completely and starts trusting Cobb and his crew. Now, the team's goal is to completely destroy Fisher's trust in his godfather, Uncle Peter.
The kidnappers are working for you.
Robert.
This is a massive blow because Uncle Peter was the only person Robert actually trusted, considering his relationship with his dad was completely toxic. Eames, still shapeshifted as the uncle, defends himself by claiming he needs to get to the father's safe first to destroy that alternative will.
I'm not gonna throw away my inheritance. Why would I?
To find out what his uncle is really plotting, Cobb suggests they dive straight into his subconscious through another dream. Arthur is left behind on Level 2 to watch over the crew's sleeping bodies. Level 3, the Snow Fortress. On this deepest level, surrounded by snowy mountains, the finale of the operation unfolds. Inside a heavily fortified bunker lies the ultimate secret, Robert Fisher's true feelings toward his dying father. Since this fortress is heavily guarded by Fisher's trained subconscious defense force, the crew has to engage in a massive shootout just to blast their way to the vault. Everything seems to be going according to plan, and Fisher finally reaches the massive safe. But then, out of nowhere, Mal shows up, Cobb's dead ex-wife. Or rather, a projection of her. She shoots Fisher dead. Now let's pause for a second and talk about Cobb's wife. Mal and Cobb were happily married and used to be madly in love. They had 2 kids and what looked like a picture-perfect life. They used to spend hours diving into dreams, building entire worlds from scratch. But during one of their experiments, they went way too deep and got stranded in limbo. They ended up spending a whole lifetime there, treating it like it was their actual reality.
We built the world for ourselves.
They spent 50 years in limbo, and Cobb knew they had to snap out of it and get back to their real-world kids. But there was a catch.
Limbo became her reality.
To force her out, Cobb convinced Mal that their world was fake and that they needed to die in the dream to finally wake up. They laid down on train tracks and successfully made it back to the real world. The problem was, after waking up, Mal completely lost her grip on reality. She became obsessed with the idea that real life was just another dream layer, and that even their kids weren't real. She desperately wanted to die with Cobb again to truly wake up. Cobb begged her not to do it, but when he refused, she jumped out of the window right before his eyes. The U.S. authorities pinned the murder on Cobb, forcing him to drop everything and flee the country. Ever since, fueled by pure survivor's guilt, a toxic projection of his dead wife hacks into almost every single dream he enters. And today was no exception. She crashed the party, killed Fisher, and dragged his consciousness down into limbo, the zone of eternal oblivion. Now, Cobb and Ariadne are backed into a corner. To save the mission and rescue Fisher, they have no choice but to cross into forbidden territory and drop down into limbo themselves.
She wants me back down there with her.
And boom, they're in limbo, a crumbling digital wasteland built by Cobb and Mal years ago. This is where Cobb and Mal have their ultimate final showdown. It's a powerful moment of emotional closure. Cobb finally admits that this version of Mal is just a ghost, an imperfect shadow that could never replace his real wife. By finally letting go of her ghost, Cobb rescues Fisher, sending him back up through the dream layers via a well-timed kick. Back on level 3, Fisher is finally standing right in front of the safe. He cracks it open and finds himself in a hospital room with his dying father. In a heartbreaking moment, his dad tells him that he was never disappointed in him, but rather disappointed that his son tried so hard to copy him.
I was disappointed. We just tried.
And when Fisher opens a tiny safe by the bed, he finds a paper pinwheel from his childhood, a cheap toy his billionaire father treasured until his very last breath. And just like that, Robert finally believes in his father's love. Mission accomplished. Fisher won't follow in his old man's footsteps. Instead, he's going to unravel the entire corporate empire. Now, the crew has to pull off a perfectly timed chain reaction kick across all dream levels simultaneously. First, blasting out of the snow fortress, then dropping from the hotel ceiling, and finally, riding the ultimate jolt as the van hits the water, all just to snap awake back on the plane. But for Cobb, the job isn't done yet. Since Saito died on level 3, his mind got dragged down into limbo. Cobb stays behind in the abyss to find him. And this is where the movie comes full circle, bringing us right back to the opening scene. That fragile old man is actually Saito. After spending decades in this empty wasteland, he's almost completely forgotten who he is and why he's even there. Cobb reminds him of their sacred pact.
Come back. So we can be young men together again.
Cut to the final scenes, where the entire crew snaps awake on the flight. Cobb looks around, locking eyes with his team. There are no high fives, no celebratory words, just a deep, unspoken bond between people who just survived a secret psychological war that the rest of the world will never know about. Saito, who aged decades in limbo but is young again in the real-world airplane cabin, makes a single phone call. That's all it takes to change a man's destiny. Walking through airport customs feels almost like a sacred ritual. For Cobb, this is the ultimate border checkpoint, reality itself testing his authenticity.
Welcome home, Mr. Cobb. Thank you, sir.
The movie closes at Cobb's house. We see a sun-drenched room and his kids, whose faces are finally turned toward their father. Cobb pulls out his totem and spins it on the table. He wants to know the absolute truth. But his kids call out to him, and without waiting for the top to stop, he walks away to embrace them. The ultimate truth doesn't matter to him anymore. He chooses happiness over reality.